show with Paul Dehner, Mark Chalifoux. Kick off the weekend, all right. It's the Growler Friday show. It's Dey Light.
This edition of Dey Light. Paul Dehner Jr. of The Athletic, Mark Chalifoux, what's going on?
It's good to be back. I feel like I missed out a lot. 1 week of vacation, dodging some sharks, and missed out on a lot of exciting Bengals news.
You did. I mean, we have a lot of Bengals news that we're going to talk about here. It's there's a lot to get to as minicamp wrapped up and the offseason is officially over. But really, you fed your kids to sharks on vacation, and I really feel like that's probably going to be a really important talking point for us during this episode at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into it, but yeah, I did almost accidentally. It was an accident. Let's be very clear. It was not an intentional scenario. It was not like an extra option you can pay for at the aquarium down there or something. It was definitely not intentional that I almost fed my kids to sharks, but it did happen. So I've got to own that, I suppose.
Yeah, you did. We'll get more into that when we get into a shining edition of Dad Life later on,
Yeah, and it was like one of those things. I'm trying to process the near shark attack that we had, and my wife just keeps hitting me with all the Bengals stuff. Joe Burrow's not throwing today. I'm like, okay, I almost fed our children to sharks. We can hold off on the Joe Burrow's going to be on the cover of Madden. I'm like, all right, hold on. Let's worry about a real life curse here that I might have just almost lost our daughter's left arm to a bull shark here. So let's focus.
Good to have you back, and good to have everyone alive after your vacation. Thanks to Josh Sneed, Cincy Shirts, our great friend of the program, for hopping in and filling in last week. We had a blast talking with Josh. If you didn't get a chance to listen to that, go back. A lot of fun stuff in there. Of course, PD&J is up from this week as well. If you want to go back, listen to that. A lot more of specifics of everything seen, heard, Burrow, talks and throws and walks and does all the things this week. A lot of discussion about him. Make sure you're following on our YouTube page. If you're going to just check out some of the best segments from the last couple of weeks, those are all up there for you to go peruse through the Growler podcast on YouTube. And of course, you can always listen wherever you get your podcasts. We've got a bunch of stuff we're going to get to, you guys. Again, always keep sending in your questions. You guys drive the show. More great stuff this week. So awesome to have so many fun questions to get to. So we're going to make sure we get to those here in a second. News-wise, Ted Karras got an extension. Shout out to Ted Karras. Adds one more year. So he was entering the last year of his contract. They add one more to that. So he's signed on through the 2025 season. The Bengals didn't really address center in the draft. So it was kind of sitting there as a wide open thing, obvious type of move that they would consider making. It's just a matter of Ted is 31, how they don't like the older players, but I think at offensive line, they have tended to make exceptions. And I think they just feel like he's playing really well. He's such a leader on the team. Keep that in place. And so they do with Ted Karras for an extra year. And if you are someone that has a problem with that, you need to leave. You need to leave. You can't have a problem with Ted Karras at this point. He's established.
Yeah, you can't get rid of the Cincy hat guy. I mean, what are you thinking at this point? No. And what I like about it, there was no drama with it either. It wasn't like Ted all of a sudden turned sour and started banging that drum about how he was almost done in Cincinnati, or started talking about life after Cincinnati or where he wanted to be next. It just sort of happened, which is kind of like what you would want to see, somebody get taken care of in that way. Just very unassuming. The news drops that the guy's going to be around for another year. And it's hard to hate that move. I don't know what was the exact money. Like, where is he ranking now among centers in the NFL?
It was kind of this. I mean, he's in the middle. I mean, he was making in the $6 to $7 million per year range. I mean, they signed him for 3 years and about 18. They basically added another year of that. It ends up being 6.5 or something this year and next year. So it's kind of 213. He was joking that it kind of broke at the beginning of them walking out to the practice yesterday. And he's like, I've been inflating the numbers to everybody that I see, telling them that it's different than it was. Because you're right. It just sort of happened and nobody really knew much about it. But yeah, it essentially is kind of reworking these into 2 years. We haven't seen the logistics of the structure in terms of cap numbers and stuff, but I think it's pretty straightforward that it's just kind of just one more year of Ted's Tub Talks, which I told Bengals content guy Seth Tanner the Ted Tub Talks idea yesterday to let him know, hey, I think I got something for you here. He didn't seem as excited about it as I hoped. I really thought I was handing him a gold nugget, and he just kind of turned it down almost.
See, I thought that was the driving force behind the extension, was like you kind of dropped that nugget to them. They were like, hold on, we've got a real content idea here. We can't lose the star of the new show. Let's get the tub thing going. Let's lock in the tub man. And so they're not enthusiastic about it, huh?
Maybe he was playing it coy. Maybe he was just focused on other things, but I didn't feel like it got the reaction that I thought it was in a truly great idea to have Ted Karras
Are they not
in one of those little hot tubs, and just somebody shows up and sits down in the tub next to him and they talk about God knows what.
It would be a great show. I would watch that show. Are they just not taking your ideas down there? What about your ideas?
Hard to know. I didn't do the greatest sell job. There was other stuff going on. I need to be more organized. I probably need to send a PowerPoint deck.
I mean, listen, as the guy that started the strikeout pizza thing with the Reds, like that should get you a little bit of momentum here with the Bengals as you pitch them on, at least on the fall. What was it? False starts or something like that. Gets Conies if there was 3 in a game or something like. You're giving them gold here. What more do they want?
I mean, what more do you want? No doubt about it. So that we had Zack Taylor has saved the day for the Alt Park fireworks. Allegedly, it was
what did he do?
Fireworks show was going to go away. It was going to go away, and next thing you know, the headline shows up: Zack Taylor and Joey Bose, who is sort of in the trainer. They had strength conditioning. They saved the day, allegedly. Well, his point is, I'm getting a lot of credit for a big campaign that everyone was doing in my neighborhood. He's like, my neighbor was kind of spearheading it, and I was part of a team that helped. But I'm getting more credit than I deserve, was his point. And then he went on a long, beautiful soliloquy about why he loves Cincinnati so much, and it was the last thing that was said in the offseason program. I thought it was a great way to go out, because it was very much a point of how he has always kind of just embraced the community and always felt very much embraced by everybody else, and anything he can do to help out, he's always trying to find a way. And that's why he's been such a good fit for this city, I think, is stuff like this. Now, again, he admits he doesn't deserve all the credit that he's been getting for it, but I think he does a lot. You see a lot of stuff like this from Zack Taylor, and he's more so than most coaches, certainly that I can remember around here, been very dedicated to being a productive kind of member of the community and helping wherever he can in that regard.
I mean, and it just shows you like how razor thin that can be in a coaching career sometimes, because there were a lot of people that wanted him gone after those first 2 seasons.
Oof.
And, like it was, you could make a logical case for that too. And the guy sticks around, becomes a great coach, and kind of an underrated coach, I feel like too, in terms of, the credit he gets elsewhere. But I love that he's even doing, good civic duties here and rescuing fireworks shows and stuff like that. Next, he's going to be, you videoed saving a puppy from the side of the highway, or helping an old lady cross the street or something like. It's just Zack Taylor, just your local neighborhood hero at this point. If you have a fireworks display in your community that's going away, maybe you need to reach out to Zack Taylor, get him to come to your neighborhood and turn things around for you. It does seem like you said he got too much credit for it. How annoying do you think the neighbor must have been to enlist Zack in that effort? Because that like he had been banging that drum, collecting signatures. Nobody cares about the other neighborhoods. He knows he just has to get Zack on board. Do you think it's the first ask that Zack is like, yeah, I'm with you, let's do this? Or do you think it's like, I got to get rid of this guy? Sure, I'll be part of this fireworks campaign.
I gotta feel like he was a pointed focus of the campaign to try to get him on board. I mean, I think that's where it starts, and it probably ends with like, look, get as far as you need to go, and maybe I can help you get to the end. It's probably, if I'm guessing, if I'm inventing this conversation, I feel like that we've all probably in some way had with a neighbor who has something that they're trying to do. It's like, yeah, come back to me when you're close.
Yeah, you can't go to that well too much. If there's going to be a couple like neighborhood girls that get busted for an unlicensed lemonade stand. You can't just quickly go to the Zack Taylor card again to have him come out and scare off the cops or whatever like this. So you got to pick your shots with the Zack Taylor as a neighbor card. And firework display, I'm not against it. I like it. As long as everything. If something goes wrong with the fireworks, now it is Zach's problem, though. So he's got to own that. So hopefully they go off without a hitch.
Well, let's get to your Q's. I've got some A's. Remember, you can send all of your questions or comments or whatever you want to send to us to the Growler Podcast at gmail.com, and we will try to get to them in the show or spread them across any number of shows that we've got. A lot of space to fill. It's a good time to get weird if you got questions right now, because we got a lot of space to fill between now and when the team returns for camp in July. So send all of your stuff to the Growler Podcast at gmail.com.
And we appreciate them all for sure. We read them all, and we will use them on different shows here and there. So if we don't get back to it right away, don't think that we're ignoring you. We appreciate everybody. Keep sharing the show as a new podcast. Keep sharing the word and leaving good reviews. That sort of stuff helps us a lot. And we did get some great questions. So contracts are a big deal right now in the NFL. So our first question comes back to, let's see, whoever sent this in. It was a great question. We loved it. He said on the Athletic Football Show, Connor Orr said every team should be paying young players early and that it always pays off. Could the Bengals have paid Jesse or T early? Would they even have accepted that deal? And how would those deals look now? And then the side of that is, what other younger players should they be looking at right now to maybe follow this model, maybe jump ahead of the curve here and extending guys before you typically would?
Yeah, well, the first part is absolutely they could have paid Jesse or T early. It would have been a matter of doing a deal that they were uncomfortable with in terms of guarantees and such. I would make, a bigger case that the biggest screw up was not paying Jesse early. I think that was a contract, and I think it's a little bit of a hindsight is 2020 coming off of last season. They underestimated the value of the safety position. They sort of talked about devaluing safety, and they're not going to pay that much for that position. Let's focus on premium positions. Well, I think they learned how premium that position is in Lou Anarumo's defense. The fact that they had to go and bring back Von Bell and sign Geno Stone after that failed experiment at safety last year, and realized just how important Jesse was. The Falcons will tell you just how important Jesse was, as he played such a major role for them last year. And that was a deal that they could have gone in early on. That was the time to do it, was in that original extension eligible year, and he wanted it, and they weren't willing to go there with some of the guaranteed money and get him to the level that he wanted to be at. And it wasn't trying to necessarily break the bank. It would have been well short of what he eventually got from Atlanta. They could have had that. He could still be on this team right now and be part of your core leadership. I mean, they passed on that. Now they use that money elsewhere. And so you're saying, okay, what are you taking away then? Are you getting rid of Orlando Brown? Are you not signing somebody else that whatever that is, any free agent that they went out and spent money on, or a contract that they did, you do have to subtract if you're signing Jesse. But I think you saw the value of Jesse Bates, and going in early would have definitely paid off for them. You'd certainly feel great about it right now. T, I get it. I think T is not about the money as much as it's been about the philosophy of not paying the number 2 wide receiver who they weren't 100% sold on with some of the injury stuff or whatever. And we've discussed that so much. I'm not going to go down that road, but I think Jesse is a little bit more obvious, and that they should have gone in early on him type deal. Next, I mean, Evan McPherson, easy. I think we talked to Evan actually yesterday about this, and he was like, yeah, sure. I mean, it's going to get, it must be nice to be a kicker. Like, I'm going to get paid. I'm good. Like, at some point they can pay me. Maybe it'll be this year, maybe next year, maybe somewhere else. He's kind of done enough. It's easy. These contracts for kickers are kind of templated now. There's been a few of them amongst the better kickers in the league. You know what they're supposed to look like. It should be pretty easy to just give Evan that contract. I would be willing to bet that he gets that right around the beginning of training camp, at the maybe a mock turtle soup special potentially from an Evan deal. And then, but really, go ahead, Mark.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like that has to be one you've got to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
when you look at the kickers and how much they can matter in those late game situations, how much he's mattered in those late game situations, that feels like an easy one, just right off the top.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that should be a one that they should be able to do this year, and they have the money to do it. He's an obvious sign. They don't really have anybody else to pay right now outside of Jamar, and that's kind of its own separate entity. So I think McPherson makes sense there. The one to really, hope doesn't follow the pattern is Cam Taylor-Britt. Next year, he will be extension eligible. A second-round pick that has potentially, we'll see what this year brings, but I think has the ability to turn himself into a star, just like Jesse Bates did, just like T. Higgins did. And are you going to end up going down that road again? I think that is one that I would be aggressive going in early on, would be for Cam Taylor-Britt next year. When you get the opportunity to do it, giving him more years to build it. I think that he's the type of guy you want to build around defensively. And if he takes the step that I think he's going to be at this year, his price is only going to go up. So I think that's the one to keep an eye on and hope that it doesn't follow the previous second round pick star thing that has happened now twice with Jesse and T.
Yeah, especially because he could be like a foundational part of that secondary for them for years to come. If you want to lock up a guy like that, the longer you wait at that position too, that's just going to be another one that gets very expensive for you, especially if he has a monster year this year and next, and you could be paying a lot more money in that situation.
Well, and think about it. We've talked about the market at receiver and how it's gone up. Well, what's the reaction to that? Paying the good corners more, right? It's like that's the reaction. So you got to think that could be maybe the next market that goes up. If you have a few corners that establish themselves as true number ones, they're never going to be more valuable as these true number one receivers end up being more expensive.
And that kind of leads into our next question. This is from Tony. What's the real situation at cornerback? And this is something I'm concerned about too, right? Because you look at the offense, there's so many weapons. You've talked about how explosive they are and how many points that they can put up. And you look at the defense. Yeah, there's some holes with losing DJ Reader, but they made the Rankin signing. They made some good draft picks there. Cornerback is a little bit more confusing, right? We talked about Dax Hill. And, so Tony's question is about that. What's going to happen there? Is it going to be a vet signing that beefs up that room? If Dax wins the starting spot, is it because DJ Turner is a problem, or is it really because Dax just balled out? And if Dax doesn't win that starting slot, do you see him moving over to maybe as the backup slot or as a backup safety if he doesn't win the corner job? Well, how's that room going to shake out in your mind?
Well, we'll see. I thought early returns on Dax were pretty good at outside corner this offseason. I mean, there seemed to be, we'll have some more on that next week, but it seemed like he fit and showed that he could be a real force in trying to win that outside job with DJ Turner. One of those two guys will start if Turner wins that job. And you're asking a lot of Dax Hill to be coming out, learn the nuances and be ready to be a day one outside corner starter. So let's just say Turner wins it. I'd put him maybe the favorite in the clubhouse by a little. I think Dax is your ultimate. He's your fourth corner. I mean, he's your backup for Mike Hilton. He's your backup for either outside spot. He's your first guy off the bench. He's your backup if things go nuts in the safety room, right? Like if things blow up back there with injury or something, he's your ultimate Swiss Army knife. He's in packages with 3 safety packages, covering tight ends, whatever that you have a role for Dax Hill where he can do everything if he doesn't win the outside job. Turner can play inside too. And so we'll see how much they have him do that in camp. But those are your big four no matter what. After that, I mean, yeah, Josh Newton has impressed. Jay talked about him as a winner of the offseason program, the 5th round pick. DJ Ivey, whenever he comes back, they really like, but he's coming back off an ACL. He was a 7th round pick last year. So Jalen Davis has been on this team for multiple years now as a backup slot corner who they liked. But if you have backup slot corners, what is your role? So there's a lot of slot corners potential there. I think that they could use a veteran outside corner to come in there and what Sidney Jones kind of was last year. You don't have to be some big name that's going to take a bunch of money. I mean, you just bring somebody in that has played, that you could count on if some stuff happens, to be corner 5 or 6 or not make the team. So I think that's, there's plenty of names. There's a ton of names out there of guys that haven't been signed. Xavier Howard has been talked about a lot. Now, he unfortunately has been talked about in the news for something else. He was accused of sending sexually explicit pictures to a minor. That's not good.
Not great.
Not great. So that's kind of out there and as the background of his deal. Dory Jackson, Eli Apple. I mean, there's names there. There's a long list of sort of that veteran that's played 5, 6, 7, 8 years, who's in their late 20s, early 30s, who could come in and potentially be somebody. I think they'll be looking there. I don't know if they will or not, but I think it's something they'll be looking at going into camp. But I think your big 4 is settled, and the rest is a mishmash of seeing who bubbles up.
I see your answer. I like that. It really reassures me about some of the depth concerns, maybe, but it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence when you're like, it's a lot to ask Dax to learn it, to win that starting job. And then DJ Turner with the second half of the season that he had. I mean, isn't that to ask him to be that starter in year 2, like coming off?
I don't think so. I thought DJ Turner played really well. I mean, I thought at the beginning of the season, he tailed off and did not play well at the end, but I think they learned a lot about his strengths and weaknesses and where he needs to grow, and expect him to do just that. And he either does or he becomes somebody who falls off. I still think Arrow is up on DJ Turner to be able to take a year 2 jump and be that guy. I mean, again, this is dumb mini camp stuff, but he had a couple of really nice plays, causing an interception and another nice pass breakup against Burrow. And so you see those. I talked to him a little bit about that, and he was like, I feel the understanding is notable for me right now. Like, I feel like I know where I'm doing, and that allows somebody who's a freak athlete to use it more appropriately and start playing instinctually with that athleticism rather than running the wrong direction or missing a tackle or things like that. I just think the more you can get them going the right way, the better.
All right, so now I feel a little bit better. Getting to the core of Tony's question, like if Dax wins that spot, it's going to be because he's playing great. So whether it's Dax or DJ, it sounds like we'll have a solid player starting at that position. We've got a run, pass, or boot here from Taylor, and this also is going to touch on your veteran cornerback signing. What's more likely to be signed first, the veteran cornerback, a depth running back like Samaje Perine if he got cut, or Kareem Hunt, or an interior offensive lineman, whether it's a center or guard?
Yeah, I still think they need a running back. And yeah, I think they have eyes on Perine. I've talked about that before as somebody who is potentially not going to make that Denver team, and they would love to bring back here. Jerick McKinnon is a name that would make a ton of sense in my mind in the running back room. I feel like those are the 2 main candidates. And in terms of, I talked about the veteran corner. So I would put the depth running back first. I would put the veteran corner next. The interior line, I mean, I agree that I think they could use it, but the fact that they haven't done it yet to this point says to me, I think that they're kind of investing in some of the younger players to do something there that they have, whether they're even undrafted free agents in recent years, your Jackson Kirklands, you still have Trey Hill there. To try to make this team, who's a young player who, look, he's a guy they've kept around for a reason. They could have let him go previously, and so they have players who are young. Matt Lee, who they drafted in the 7th round, who I think they want to give a real chance to, and they want to clear the decks for those guys to try to turn into something. So I think that's less likely. It could happen. I mean, remember, we're talking about replacing somebody like Max Sharping. Or doing something similar to Cody Ford. I mean, these are guys that were brought in late. Sharping was a guy who was picked up off the waiver wire right before season started. So those are the types of moves where I think that's where you would see that come from. But for now, I think they're going to kind of sit back on that spot.
Our next question is from David. It's one a lot of Bengals fans were curious about. Why was Chase not participating in the practices this week?
What do we need to see from Jamar Chase in a mini camp practice is my question. He was in the walkthroughs. He was in the meetings. He was there at mandatory minicamp. I think that's half the battle. I don't want to see Jamar Chase doing anything strenuous. I want to see more of Andre Yoshivash and Cole Burgess, my guy who had a great deep ball catch. Shout out Cole and everybody from SUNY Cortland that loves the Growler now. But I want to see the young guys. I want to see Charlie Jones. I want to see all of them. I don't need to see Jamar Chase running a half-hearted post. Like, it's unnecessary. I know what Jamar Chase looks like.
Okay, so that clears it up then, because people were unsure why he wasn't participating. They were not clear that it was specifically because you did not need to see him.
Yes,
you communicated with the Bengals. Yes. I don't need this. Let me see the other guys. And they say, Jamar, take those cleats off. Paul doesn't want to see this. He wants to see his guy.
I need more Burgess reps. Yeah, so I always think it's weird when the whole staff comes directly to me when I walk in and asks my thoughts on what I want to see this practice. But I oblige. No, I mean, obviously no one cares.
To not get him hurt. I mean, what?
No, he isn't going to go out there and do that. And they don't really, that's not something they would really care to push for anyway, because they want to see the young guys. I mean, that's what this offseason program is for. Give Chase a couple of practices. He's fine. There's no reason for him to go out and do anything strenuous here. He does plenty of training on his own. He doesn't need to go do that. He doesn't need to work with Burrow anymore. Like it's not a big deal. So I just think that's more, and this isn't anything more than that. He didn't want to talk afterwards and any of the 3 days. And it was kind of a weird diva act that happened where, obviously the media is going to be waiting by your locker because you haven't been here. We know what's all going on. Like, it's no big deal. A lot of making everybody wait for a long time, then saying no. Then the next day doing the same thing, making everybody wait for a long time, not coming in. And then later on coming in admitting, I didn't come in here long, so you guys would stand there longer. Maybe I'll talk tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. Come back. Do you have to do it again? The third day, everybody has to wait around again. And he says, well, I'm not going to talk. I'll talk in camp. And so I don't really appreciate that very much. It's kind of, can you just come out day one and say, I'm not going to talk this week? No one cares. No one cares if you don't. Like, it's fine. The whole, like, I'm going to make them stand there and wait 45 minutes at my locker for me to come in at the end and tell them, nope, I'm not going to do it. I don't really appreciate that stuff very much, but hey, whatever. It's fine.
Is that why you told the Bengals not to let him participate in those other 2 days? Like,
that's it. It's personal. It's personal. We just don't see that very much. Like, there's not, like, we haven't seen that at all really from him.
That was going to be my question. Like, he never really struck me as much of a diva guy. He was always, he talks too much sometimes where, he's cracking on the Browns elves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it did seem a little bit out of character or out of just.
And he probably just doesn't want to talk about his contract. He just want to talk about his contract. And I don't have a problem with that and whatever. Like, Jamar's kind of goofy. Like, I'm not holding it against him necessarily. It's just one of those where it's like why's it got to be like that? But outside of that, it's fine.
Do we need to bring in our guy at this point?
We sure do.
Let's bring our dude.
It is our time. It is going to be Sztanyo time. And that's our guy, Eric Sztanyo. You know him, #1 real estate YouTube channel in Cincinnati at Team Sztanyo. You've got, are you just going to are you going to bring the heat today to me? You got something good?
Yeah, I always, that's what I'm trying to do here is bring the heat to Paul.
Yes, that's right. Put me on it. I'm ready.
You squirm.
Forget the ambush section. This is where I really gotta be prepared.
Yeah. No. Okay. So here's the question this week. Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
The Ted Karras extension. Love it. Who doesn't love that, right? In the city, and it got me thinking a little bit about beloved players, coaches in the city, and their relationship with the city post their careers. I think that's always interesting. I was downtown. Congratulations on the Graders. What better advertiser than having Graders? But I was downtown actually shooting a video at Graders, and I ran into Scooter Gennett, former Reds player. And I'm like, Scooter, you hit 4 home runs, and you do one thing like that, and you're a legend forever. So after after a career's over, I've got a run passer boot for you. Okay. Here's my run passer boot. So after the career is over, who is the most likely to be the future Cincinnati mayor? Okay. Ted Karras, beloved Ted Karras, number one. Number two, you've got, I'm going to go coach route. And so I'm going to go with everyone's fireworks saving Super Bowl, taking coach and Zack Taylor. So we're going player coach. And then I was going to, for the third one, I was thinking about a local celebrity like Nick Lachey, which, I clearly know that you would run with Nick Lachey. So I'm going to steer away from Nick Lachey and go past popular player. Let's throw in Chad. Let's throw in Chad Johnson. So run passer boot, future mayor, Ted Karras, Zack Taylor, Chad Johnson.
Okay, so there's a few aspects of this to discuss. One, let's start with Chad. Chad quite famously had to learn how banks work as an adult from Marvin Lewis. Okay, I think he is a genius marketer. I think he is a truly gifted marketer, and he knows he would keep Cincinnati in every conversation. I'd love to see what his cabinet would look like. Who's the city manager? Like I'm in for the entertainment value.
TJ Hishman,
I don't know,
city manager.
but like if I'm just kind of counting on you to make sure I keep getting my trash picked up once a week, if I'm like on board with Chad as mayor, I'm here for Chad in different roles than that. Karras, I mean, clearly everyone loves him. Clearly, I think he could campaign his face off, and he'd be a hard one to beat for anybody. But I think Zack Taylor, if he can get a couple more grandmas across the street and he can save a couple more fireworks shows, I think he's the one that's a proven leader. He's the one that's proven that, in the leadership role, he can do big things. He's talked about how much he cares about the city. I think he's positioned himself. Karras still talks about, I'm a Midwest guy. I'm an Indy guy. He talks about Indy a lot. And certainly he's embraced Cincinnati, but I feel like I'd be running with Zack Taylor here, and I would be passing on Karras, and I have to boot Chad. But I want Chad, and I want Chad in the mix. I want him somehow on the staff.
Oh yeah,
sleeping on the floor of City Hall as he learns the job.
There's no question. All right, so I have one for you. This one has been on my mind a lot lately, and I've been thinking, man, I got to make sure I ask Sztanyo this. So we've talked about. I just redid my porch. And I have a list of 3 other projects that I'm kind of looking at. And I know a lot of people are like this. If I'm thinking, okay, what should I do to live in now? And I'm going to sell my house at some point. What is the best projects to prioritize, around your house? What project should I be prioritizing doing? Is it as simple as, look, I watch a lot of HGTV.
Ooh,
okay. I watch Rock the Block. Okay. I know kitchens and bathrooms, right? Yeah. So is it that simple? Where should I be prioritizing my projects?
Yep. Good question. Because you watch HGTV and you're just going to get scared. And I think most people who are thinking of selling their house, this is an intimidating question, and you don't know where to kind of stop. Where does the list end? Which is why I would say bring in a real estate agent, because we're doing this every day. We're looking at the comps. We know what matters and what doesn't. Bring in an agent to tell you. Otherwise, you might be doing a bunch of projects and wasting time and money. You don't want to do that. If you're trying to actually increase the value of the house, it really is what you're saying, the kitchens, the baths, and additional square footage. That's what's actually going to increase value. But most people aren't trying to do that. Your goal is really, you're trying to sell it for the most amount of money, the least amount of hassle, and the fastest. That's what a real estate agent is trying to tell you to do. The things that will give you the biggest bang for your buck, if you're looking to prep your house to sell, I tell this to all of my sellers all the time. Number 1, declutter the house and deep clean it. Okay. So you just got to get rid of your crap, because you don't want to move your crap to the next house. Everyone loves their crap, but have you ever moved and you took a box from your basement and you stuck it in a truck and then you put it in your next basement? And you're like, why did I do that? So when you're thinking of decluttering, get rid of the stuff that you don't want or use, and just don't think of it as you're prepping your house to sell. thinking about it is you're already moving. Like you have to do this to move anyway. Just get rid of it. That's number one, declutter and clean. Number two, paint. Paint is cheap and paint goes a long way. So if I know you guys got kids and you got smudges all over your walls and you got bumps and all that stuff, get a painter to come in or do it yourself. Paint just goes a long way in terms of the presentation of the house. Number three, flooring. If you got some crusty old carpet or some really worn down hardwoods, it's not that expensive to replace the carpet and resand the hardwoods. That's number three. Number four, landscaping. You want to make that good first impression when people are coming up the house. Make sure you got everything pruned, maybe plant a few things, fresh mulch, mow the lawn. All those things are not a lot of money, but they go so far in terms of the presentation of your house. And you're wanting to strike at first, especially in this market where there's little inventory. You want to get those multiple offers on the front end, like that first weekend. And if not, you're going to be losing money. So just present it properly. Don't go overboard. If you have questions, call a real estate agent.
Bam. This is good stuff. Now I've got to go declutter my house. Now I'm going to go right from recording this podcast down to my storage area, and I'm going to be analyzing everything look, I've got stuff that has been sitting there in tubs just tubs of old crap. I honestly don't even know what's in it. Like, I don't think we're going to use this bocce set. I just don't think it's going to happen. But it's like, there's just so many things down there, but that's great stuff. Appreciate it as always. Reminder,
yes,
you can join the Sztanyo clan, subscribe on YouTube at Team Sztanyo, Instagram, Sztanyo, SZTANYO. And of course, if you are looking to buy or sell a home, email directly info@teamsztanyo.com or go to www.teamsztanyo.com to connect. Thanks a ton. Great to have you back, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Sztanyo getting into the politics. I like it.
Yeah. I like it. You got to stand for something. You know
exactly.
What I mean? That's it. I love it. All right. So let's see. Do we have any more questions we want to try to get?
We do. We'll keep rolling here. We got a fun run passer boot for you. We're gonna. This is T. Higgins' number of receptions this year, the percentage of the chance that Chase extension gets done this year or next. Or the yardage of longest play from scrimmage for a Bengals wide receiver this season.
Okay. All right. This is a good one here. So here's the history here on this one. Now I'm running with the Chase extension.
Yeah, that's got to be
this year or next. That's getting done. 99 is my number there. Like, I guess. So Chase extension, I'm running with that. To me, it's between the pass and the boot here. The history of T. Higgins receptions are 67, 72, 74. Last year, the injury year, 42. So let's put him in the 70s for his average spot. Burrow's long, 82, 60, and 64. So 82 and 21, 60 and 64. Are they going to find some more explosive? That makes this a really tough one. I'm going to bet on one breaking through. And so I'm going to run with the long play for a receiver. And I'm going to boot on T. And that's not really disrespect to T. It's just, there's a lot of chances to hit a play that ends up going for 75, 80, 85 yards. Like it certainly can happen. So I'm going to run with that. The one shot being what breaks through.
I mean, I feel like those kind of go off of each other, right? Because there's just so many explosive options that Burrow's got. You only need one of those to really pop into a big play, and that's going to be 80, 90 yards. And Higgins is a great player, but there are more pass catchers on this offense now. You know, it's not like you've got Gesicki, you've got Burton out there, you've got some of these other younger receivers that could also play some good snaps for you. There's a lot of guys that can catch the footballs that could also chip into that number. So that makes sense. The Chase thing like that, maybe if you put it at this year, it would make it a little bit more interesting with how some guys are getting their deals earlier and just the fact that he's the next big guy up. But yeah, he's definitely getting that next year. Like they're not going to let him leave.
Yeah. No, I don't think you see a thing where this rolls over. That would have been interesting. If you put it this year, I'm booting Chase. So I don't think he's close in that. You probably would need to find another to make that a perfect run passer boot. We'd have to just kick Chase out of that and find another number.
We've got a lot of negativity with this next question from Jeff. He wants to know, what are our pet peeves? Here are his pet peeves. Ready? Here's his list. And you can tell me if you agree or disagree with this. His first one is the uber annoying, look at me, Bengals type super fans. How do you feel about that one as a pet peeve?
I don't mind super fans. I don't mind super fans. I mean, it's great. It's great to have, I mean, fans and enthusiasm is kind of what drives sports. So I don't really, now, I mean, too much.
You don't have a problem with the
I get what you're saying. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but we're all performing. Look at us. We're talking into the internet right now.
And also some of, like, if you look at a super fan, there were years where that's all they had was to put on a funny costume or, dump tiger blood all over themselves, whatever you wanted to do as a super fan. That's all you had for some years. So yeah, I'll let them have that now. Now, if you were going to come out of the blue as a bandwagon super fan and, start wearing like a weird Marvel costume to every game, I'm not on board with that. But if you've been doing it for a while, you're grandfathered in, at least in my opinion.
No question. Yeah, I have nothing but respect for anybody that was around in the 90s and is still here.
Not using your turn signal when turning left. How do you feel about that pet peeve?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't drive me nuts. I don't like it. I mean, I think it's obvious, but because there's a lot of people depending on that signal. But it's not the top of my list.
Who cares? Use it, don't use it. Live dangerously on those roads.
I know.
You guys shouldn't be texting anyway.
I mean, look, it's the law technically, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I'm advocating that people ignore the laws. Do what's in your heart when it comes to the turn signal, and everyone else just has to react to whatever you do on the roads. His next one is sitting on the machines at the gym on your phone between sets. He hates when people do that. How many gym-related pet peeves do you have?
Well, my biggest one is that I still pay $10 a month and don't go. That's probably my biggest pet peeve, and that's kind of my fault. So that's a pet peeve with myself. I need to be getting back there. So that'd be number one pet peeve.
Yeah. Why are you still paying for the gym membership? Also, where is it?
Because I say that I should go, and I'm gonna start going again, right? And then I just need to give up on it. I like having it there in case I decide that I'm gonna go.
I mean, you're talking home renos. Just put in that home gym, and just part podcast studio, part gym. You could be doing push-ups on this show. Just combine the two.
Yeah, pull-ups. Like I'll have the camera go up and down with me as I go on the pull-up bar for my one pull-up that I could do.
Yeah, we'll get you on like an exercise bike as you're doing the show. That won't be annoying for anybody watching on YouTube at all.
Yeah.
And then his last one was attempting to back into parking spots without the requisite capability.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm a big back into parking spots guy. I'm always thinking about the future. I'm always thinking about the exit. And I end up looking stupid sometimes. I make a big deal out of backing in because I'm thinking about when we leave, and then you go to leave and the parking garage is totally empty or something. But look, I always want to, if I have the time and everything's in the clear, I like to set myself up for success just in case there's a need for it in the future. So I'm pro backing in. Now, if you're someone who can't do it, so I don't think that person should, but I don't know if it's just they had one bad issue. Like, I don't know this person enough. If it's somebody that I drive with regularly and they keep doing it, okay, pet peeve, high alert on that one. Stop trying this. You can't do it. Or go practice in an open parking lot with cones.
Everyone's got cameras now on their cars. You should be able to pull that off. And that seems like a weird one to get really frustrated about. Although I will say, I can sort of notice, the older I get, the more concerned I become with just parking in any situation. When all right, we're all going to go out to this place. Parking is creeping up higher on my list of concerns, which I don't necessarily love that, but you got a game plan. You have to have some sort of plan before you get there, or else you can get in a really tough situation, really tough spot, literally, on the parking front. So that's got to be high up there. Do you have any of your own personal pet peeves you want to throw in there that are worse than what Jeff has listed for you?
Yeah, here's mine. So I have no problem with people on bikes. I like bike lanes. I like bike paths. I like that people are out there on their bikes. It's great. However, if you ride a bike, you are a car. Okay. Like that is how you need to operate. You're in car lanes. You operate as a car. You don't have special rules where I can come up to a red light and just go through it because no, I'm on a bike, but then I get to be in the car lane. No, you need to go on the sidewalk. You need to operate by the sidewalk rules, although you're not supposed to do that. Or you just because you are on a bike doesn't mean that you don't have to stop at red lights. You can just run through them. You can go in between people all the time. Like you are a car. So you need to be abiding by the rules. People that go and on bikes and say, oh, I get to be in the car lane. And then when it comes time to do car things that car people don't like, I just don't do those. I just go on my own. Big pet peeve on bike people that don't pick what they are.
See, I didn't have any bike people pet peeves, but even listening to that impassioned 2-minute rant about it, now I've started to have some bubbling up. I hate the bike guy because I live in the suburbs. I hate the bike guy at a high traffic time of day that is just riding on the main road, just backing up everybody way more, wearing his, Lance Armstrong yellow jersey thing and just going 5 miles an hour at 5 p.m. on a major road. There's plenty of places to take your in a city to get lots of great exercise. You're clearly not going somewhere for business purposes. You're not biking home from work. You're just out for a ride as an old dude and just ruining traffic for everybody. So that's going to be on my pet peeves.
Yeah. I would also say this is one, as somebody who loves playing cornhole, has again run a tournament for a long time. I care about it. Non-regulation distance cornhole boards set up in public places where you go somewhere and they just want to show that they have cornhole boards and they're like 10 feet apart, right? And it's like, no, it's 27 front to front. Okay. Like that's the distance, right? If you either have room for it or you don't. I'm not going to come here and like play a game where I toss it a few feet and like that's not the game. All right. It's not the game.
I like you showing up at these places with like a tape measure, just really going to walk off this 27. This isn't regulation. Shut this place down. We've had enough of this low rent crap.
I have moved and walked off more than a few public cornhole boards in my life.
If you have your own pet peeves, you can send them in. Maybe we'll just make everybody better people on this show. We'll start correcting all of these if we can start getting people to act better. Yeah, just send that in. You can always send your questions and your pet peeves if you want to the growlerpodcast@gmail.com. We've got 2 homework things that we are ready to wrap up. We asked for audience participation in those. They've come through for us. We've got our nicknames. We've got to settle on the fan nicknames. We got a few more suggestions for those. Somebody wanted to play off your love, you and Mo, your love of aliens, and call us the Growlians. How do you feel about that as a podcast fan name, the Growlians?
No, I got to say something weird happened the last episode that we did when we were together where you just kind of kept saying the Growl Pals. And I was like, I think we just kind of settled it. Like it just sort of came. It felt right. It felt good. I was comfortable with it. And I think that's what happens with this. It's never like the one great submission came in. We just actually submit. We just give up and just say, yeah, the Growl Pals. So I think I settled on it. I was comfortable enough hearing it. I think we have pals.
Growl Pals. And we love the Growl Pals.
Yeah, I think that's
we appreciate the Growl Pals. And then the second was for the fan initiation. Our last idea we had was somebody tossing a coney from 10 feet out through any cornhole set. And when that's accomplished, you lead everybody loudly in a Houday chant. As a cornhole purist, I can't imagine you're going to be on board with that one.
So yeah, I saw this on the rundown, and that's what set me off on my cornhole pet peeve. The 10 feet out, I'm fine with this. Yeah, it would have to be. The problem is you end up potentially wasting a lot of cheese conies, and that's one thing that no one can stand for if you can't get it into the hole. So I'm thinking that I can't do that because of the potential waste factor.
Yeah, if you're terrible at it, you're throwing, 10, 12 conies at the board.
Yeah. And imagine the sadness of the crowd as they watch you waste another coney. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be easy to film something like that. Maybe you should only get like 3 shots at it, and then you have to go become a Browns fan if that's your way in. You got to really practice at home before you show up at the tailgate throwing conies through the cornhole set. It's time for Ambush Light. Are you ready for an ambush question?
I am ready. Let's ambush.
This one's from Andrew. He says, if I remember correctly, Paul's wife is an attorney. What are the highs and lows of being married to a lawyer? I'm in law school and need to know what married life might be like.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, knowing the law, you don't realize how important that. You know how they say, well, you don't know you need a lawyer until you need a lawyer. Like you don't appreciate it. Like there is no situation where you don't know what's going on and you don't feel like you can enlist someone to help you get out of any situation, other people advice, you name that. Like it's just, there's a lot of good circles you end up in. Certainly there. I just think, look, lawyers are really smart people, man. Like that's also a good thing to have on your side if you're kind of a big goof. And so for me, I'm like all about that. I think there's, you don't need to, how many arguments do you really want to win anyway? Like, let's be honest. It's like, you don't want to win. So, you already got that box checked off. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that stress. But no,
so what are your lows?
I think it's about, what's that?
Those are highs. What are the lows of being married to a law person?
I mean, you'll never win. I mean, that's just it. There is one low of like the like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that it really, I'm not big on like people's jobs defining their good or bad relationships. You know what I mean?
Guy wants you to trash your wife on the show. Come on.
It's like, how quickly am I going to have to edit this that you want me to go negative? Like all right, so here's all my pet peeves. Let's hear the grievances. What are we doing? This is an ambush. Did this call come from inside the house?
I think
is
it
this
is
one
cool
from inside the house
to have a law person in the house like that, because then like anytime you have like a door-to-door salesman or somebody trying to pitch you on something, you can just say, just hold on, I need to talk to my attorney, and that'll scare them away.
Well, this works in a lot of times. Anytime I've ever gone through a business stuff, whether it's any contracts that are involved or anybody that comes to do work on your house, you're right. Anything, I can be like, oh, okay, look, my wife's a lawyer, so I'm going to have her look over this. The fear that you end up getting from the other side, not expecting that, is all the, we can't get away with our normal shenanigans here. We should button it up. So that's always nice to be able to drop that line in there.
We've got the lawyer on board. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So,
all right. I'm ambushing you now. That was unnecessary. This one, I've got one here. This is from Jerry in Springboro, who said he loves the podcast with 3 exclamation points, which is
love it.
Peeve of mine. No, you want no more than one. One is the exclamation. You can't have more exclaiming. Like what is too many then? 20? But I
Jerry, 20.
Jerry, we love you. Thank you. He says, this is for you. What is the strangest thing about me? My adamant dislike of guys' urinals in basements, unusual obsession of having flags for every possible occasion throughout the calendar year. I'm not going to apologize for that. And his elf on the shelf party shenanigans. All right, I'll let you answer this.
I love this question. And this is the type of question that we need. It's sent to us at thegrowlerpodcast@gmail.com. The urinal thing, like, I understand some of your points on that. You came out with a very visceral reaction. You called them serial killers. I don't go that far, but I got some of the points on that. Elf on a shelf thing doesn't bother me. Maybe a little bit weird that you went so hard on it early in your life, but that doesn't bother me. The flag thing is a strange one. Because you're not an elderly person. I don't know any person that's got more than 5 flags. I don't even know if I know a single person under the age of 50 that regularly puts up different flags in front of their house, let alone somebody that's got a collection of more than 30, you said? Like, yeah. And I saw a picture of the Harry and Meghan Markle flag that I thought was a joke. I thought that it was like the British flag or something like that. And your wife sent me a picture of you holding that. And I was like, wow, this is actually exactly what you described it to be. It is a flag with their faces on it that you fly in front of your house. That's got to be the weird one, right? And here's what I want to know is, what is the gateway flag for this hobby? What's the one that you buy where it's like, well, this is getting to that next level where now we can see a path to a Harry and Meghan flag? Because you start with America, that's fine. Maybe a state flag, sure. At some point, There's one that's just so bizarre.
The first time you go holiday, I think when you start going like, oh, is that an Easter flag and not Christmas? Like I do have, obviously, I think Christmas is, you're kind of stepping into it. That's like, so someone passes you some weed, man, and you're like, I don't know, I'll give it a shot, right? That's like that's your Christmas flag, and then next thing you know, you're putting up flags, for Arbor Day, and you're like, oh, you're addicted to meth.
Yeah, at that point, if you're doing all the holidays, sure. Well, here's what I want to know then: what flag?
This is a great discussion. It's today's Flag Day. Do you know today's Flag Day?
Today's Flag Day.
This is Flag Day.
This is your biggest day of the year.
It's a big one. Now it's supposed to be for the American flag, but my thoughts. My thoughts. I love America and I love flying the America flag, but it comes off boring to a flag guy. So like I kind of make it more of like a celebration of flags in general. So I like to kind of just pull multiple out over the course of the day and give them their time.
You know what? That's what it has to be. Is like you need to do all 30 flags. Just like every half hour, change. Yeah, just change them over.
A ceremonial changing of the flag. I could get behind that. Yeah,
all the neighbors show up. Zack Taylor, how about can come over to give his neighborhood support to the flag guy, and then
fireworks flag,
raise them up.
Yeah. I mean, we have a happy birthday flag that goes up on people's birthday. You know what? The smiles you get when you hang up the happy birthday flag for one of your friends, one of your neighbors, and you tell them it's for them. Like there's an appreciation in the connection that gives. Okay. All right. So don't tell me you got to be elderly to be flying flags. It doesn't matter. It matters. Okay. It matters.
What you got to get the growler flag then. If you're going to have a Harry and Meghan Markle flag, you got to get the growler flag up there. Put it up just when you're podcasting so people know. Don't knock on the door. Don't interrupt the artist at work. That's kind of steer clear of the house. But yeah, I'm surprised you don't have like a specific Flag Day flag to put up there just so everyone driving by knows that today is in fact Flag Day.
Yeah, I know. Technically, now I have a flag of flags, which was gifted to me. It literally is a flag with all the world's flags on them individually.
Oh man, this is just it's like a Russian nesting doll of flags here. There's just flags inside flags inside flags.
Yeah, so technically, I like to fly the flag of flags for Flag Day, even though it's supposed to be an American Flag Day.
Oh, I'm sure the American flag's represented somewhere on the flag of flags.
It is. It's one of many. So that's fine. It's on there. All right. Should we move on to well, let's see. Let's go. Give me where are you at?
Father's Day weekend.
Where are you at? You have pillows stacked behind you right now.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
In a hotel room. Very perfectly stacked. It's visually appealing.
That's what I try and do. It's a little Easter egg for the YouTube viewers. You have to have some sort of visual compelling background. I'm on the road this week. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and I've got shows tonight in Charleston, South Carolina, Saturday in Charleston at the Wits End Comedy Club. Sunday, I was doing a Father's Day show back here in Asheville, North Carolina. So you can go to any of those. I'll be back in the Cincinnati region on June 28th for a show at the Commonwealth Sanctuary. So you can come out that night and see jokes I've been working on. And then in July, I've got Columbus and Lexington coming up on the horizon. So come out to a live show. We'll talk about flags and how cool they are and how lots of young people put them up all the time.
I mean, it's got a lot of potential. That's all I'm saying. All right. Before we go, though, I need the full story on what happened when you fed your children to sharks.
I mean, so I think it's a pretty common thing at the beach, right? Because dolphins will swim in the water and people get excited about that because it's fun. I remember we, alternate between Florida and South Carolina. And when our oldest daughter was 2, I took her out. She woke up earlier than everyone in the house. So we would go down to the beach. And there was one morning we were kind of playing in the ocean. And there were a few people out there and not a lot, just a few. Early morning, everybody enjoying it, good vibes. And there was a dolphin swimming close to the shore. It was like a real magical moment. Like, oh, there's a dolphin. One lady, and this is all it takes, just walking by, just starts screaming, shark, shark. And we're like, no, that's clearly a dolphin. You're an idiot. But she was so adamant where she just keeps going, shark. You're like, maybe that is a shark. And so you just slowly kind of get out of the water just in case. But it was a dolphin. She ruined the magical moment, right? And so we're on vacation now. This is the last day of the beach trip. And my 2 daughters come running back in. They're like, we think we just saw a shark. And I was like, no, you didn't. It's a dolphin. You're dumb. It's just a fin from the dolphin. Get back out there. And they were like, but 2 other people said they were adults. They said they saw the shark too. And I was like, they're stupid. Adults are dumb. It's not a shark. Get back in the water. And then about 20 minutes after that, after I sent them back into the water, half a mile down the beach, a shark bit off a woman's arm and leg. She lost a considerable amount of blood. And an hour after that, just another mile down the beach, 2 teenage girls were attacked by that same shark. So they were right. So that's my bad. That is on me. I sent them back into the shark-infested waters. In my defense, there had been 2 shark attacks in the Gulf Coast in the last 30 years. It just doesn't happen. And let alone 2 in the same day, 3 in the same day. So that's on me. It did feel like I was forcing them to drink the water in Flint, Michigan, or like telling them it's okay to go into the gorilla enclosure at the zoo. You should do that. So I've got to own that. But at least the shark didn't feast on them.
No. So that's good. I mean, let's silver lining this thing. I mean, that you didn't have to deal with that. But I mean, what was the scene down there in the blood infested waters? Were there? I have to imagine a significant amount of high pitched screams.
Well, it was not great. We had already gone. So when it happened, we had already started moving back. So blissfully, this was the last day too. So the beach obviously was closed for a couple days after that. Nobody could go down to the water at all. But it was our last day. So we didn't really have to feel the effects. Much better than like a day 1 shark attack where everybody freaks out. We got to keep this away from the kids. Like it didn't happen right in front of them. So they didn't have to see all the panic and, somebody floating back to the shore with half of their body and then being scarred for life. This just happened sort of out of view of them. They were able to be shielded from that. And they could hear the adults kind of talking about it in hushed tones. And we were getting texts from other people we had made friends with at the beach. And, everyone had to kind of set that chain in motion. You don't think that it's going to be a shark, and then it became national news that it was in fact a shark and the shark was eating people. So, that's just vacations for you. Sometimes they go perfectly. Sometimes they end in near miss shark attacks. And thankfully, this Father's Day would have been very different for me if I had made the kids go back into the shark waters and one of them had gotten bitten and, we were getting them fitted for a prosthetic limb at this point, but it didn't happen. So we get a normal Father's Day.
Congratulations to you on that. Happy Father's Day to you. And congratulations on it being one where all your kids have still all of their appendages.
Do you have a Father's Day flag? Is that going to be flying?
So it's a weird spot here. I mean, you can't buy yourself a Father's Day flag. I mean, that's one step too far. So your family kind of has to buy that for you and kind of has to fly it for you for a father. Now we have Mother's Day and I have their birthday flags and back to school, obviously, and all of these things. But I can't fly a Father's Day flag for myself. Can I?
Do you have
one? I don't
one?
think so. No, because I'm not going to go buy a Father's Day flag for myself. Right. I feel like that's something that someone have to do as a gift, as a gesture to me. Their flags are flown for others, not for yourself.
So if you've got like a very notorious, unusual hobby, you think that if you were married to a smart person with a legal background, they would put those dots together and get you a Father's Day flag. What a cool gift that would be to encourage your unusual hobby. You can fly. It doesn't have to be for you. It could be for all the neighborhood dads. You're showing respect. It's not just about yourself. But yeah, you can't buy it yourself. Somebody else has got to step up to the plate here. Although I will say in general,
that would be.
Most fathers, like my kids got me an Xbox for Father's Day. They don't know it yet, but when I give my wife the bill for that Xbox, that's how they're going to know they got me an Xbox for Father's Day. Most Father's Day gift, you got to just buy yourself.
You just got to buy it yourself. You're right. Maybe I'll just go get the flag. All right. Great stuff. Happy Flag Day to you, Mark. It was great to have you here for Flag Day. And Father's Day too, I guess. Yeah, it's great. Well, we'll be back, of course. We'll be back next week. More fun. So much more fun. We are into the weird season, folks. Congratulations. We made it. It's what Dey Light's here for. Day Light was made
weird
to exist in the weird season because we are in the dead period. There's not a whole lot going on. Special show coming next week. Keep an eye out for that. Probably midweek. I think we're gonna have that coming for you. Have a special guest that's gonna join us. I would tell you, but I always get worried that until an interview is actually done, I don't like to say who it is in case it falls apart because it's already happened once here with this. So I'm gonna hopefully it happens next week, but we're expecting a special guest episode for you next week. It's gonna be great. So anyway, thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Happy Flag Day.